Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dice Tower Daily Chat. And I apologize, we've had some technical difficulties, as I think you may have seen that I put down there in the chat. Right now, I am hoping that we can get our guest on board. You can see our split screen there with the sad Skype symbol where the face of our wonderful guest should be. His computer crashed moments before we were getting ready to launch. So I didn't want to make you wait any longer. As soon as Ben's computer gets back up, I'm going to be looking at my phone here constantly. And as soon as it gets up, I'm going to try to Skype him in the middle of this. And hopefully that doesn't cause any issues. But we're going to make it work. Technology will not defeat me. No. Well, it defeats me regularly on a daily basis, but I feel pretty confident that we're going to figure this out. And by confident, I mean who knows. Hey, that's all right. Well, again, welcome to the Daily Chat, our lovely little slice of positivity here at the end of the day for me in the East Coast. It's still evening time, maybe dinner time for those of you on the West Coast of the United States. And if you happen to be in the UK or in Europe, like our hopeful guest will be, then it's very, very, very late for you. And thank you for being here. And I am very much looking forward to talking with you and hopefully talking with our guest. And for the time being, let's just see. Let me see if there are any questions or comments that I can address just on my own. And we will. Again, I'll be frequently looking. If I look distracted, it's because I'm going to be looking at my phone constantly to see when Ben is up. And hopefully, I'm just going to put it out there. If and when we can get Ben on here, who's to say, it may kind of die out on us there on his end. But we're going to make the best of it no matter what. All right, well, we've got a question. We'll start off with the Board Game Barrage podcast, and I'm going to assume that this is Kellen asking this question. I've been chatting with Kellen a little bit on Facebook Messenger this evening. What is the best game that everyone has played during quarantine? Well, I assume that question was maybe for the chat, and so I'll be looking through to see what some people are saying. But I have a couple of games that I was going to mention that I've been playing solo because obviously that is the most convenient way for me to play games right now. I'm playing Mezzo, which has a solo variant with the expansion here. I'm not going to pronounce this correct. Souls for Xibalba? I don't know. That's probably not even close. But I played that solo a few times, and I've really, really enjoyed that. I think I'm going to do a solo review of that for the Dice Tower when I can get back into the studio. And then I also played the first solo campaign game for Cloudspire. I had played Cloudspire before as a multiplayer game, and I enjoyed it, but it was extraordinarily long. I played it 4 players, and almost all of us were playing it for the first time. And so it was really, really long, although I liked it. Now, the solo game I played, I thought was pretty fantastic. So that is what I've been playing here recently. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've played really recently, but I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. And if other people, it looks like Snowdonia. Looks like, here, let me pop a couple of these up here. Looks like Scott played Snowdonia. So I've played Snowdonia a few times. I have not played the new fancy collector's edition version of Snowdonia, although I did see it. That is a massive box. I like Snowdonia. It's a train-themed worker placement game. Tony Boydell, I believe, the designer of that. Pretty well-renowned, actually, in the solo community. Let's see. Korra Liu. I finally played my first solo games. Do you mean first solo games ever? Korra Liu, that would be fantastic. Tiny Towns and Chai. I've played Tiny Towns before, but only multiplayer. And Chai, I've only played solo. I played it. There's a couple of different ways, apparently, that you can play Chai solo. There's some base rules that were in the rule book that kind of had a high score variant, if I remember right, and I wasn't as interested in that, but there's also a variant that you can play with some dice, some solo dice, and that's the one that I played with and enjoyed a fair amount. I like it. It's very, very light. I am interested in playing that with more players. Let's see what else here. Timbo Slice played Azul on Google Hangouts, said that was fun. Azul, I think, would be a really good game to play remote like that. Yeah, I mean, as long as one person has the game. Well, no, everyone would. Well, no. I'm thinking everyone would have to have the game for their player boards, but I think you could print off player boards, probably. Couldn't you? Probably. All right. It looks like our guest is up. I'm going to try. Now, I really hope that by me switching over to Skype to make this phone call that I don't have any issues. Fingers crossed. Let me see.
Hello.
Okay, I believe we're live, Ben. Although I can't.
Are we live?
We're live. I see you.
On the internet.
On the internet, sir.
You see me.
I see you. Now, before I make the introductions, I want to make sure I'm going to look at the comments here, and
Yes.
somebody please tell me in the comments if you're seeing me and you're seeing Ben and everything looks okay on your end. So I'm going to wait one moment before the official intros here.
I'm going to sit looking provocative.
There you go. Well, you're quite good at that. I see a nope. Oh no. I think that nope I think nope is an answer to something else. All right, I'm still waiting. We have a little delay, Ben, so I'm still waiting on. Okay, he's here. Yes. All right. Ben, I told the people.
My computer died.
I told the people that your computer died, and I also told people that we would not let technology defeat us. We're stronger than technology.
Well, I mean, technology literally defeats me every day of my life, so that ship has sailed a long time ago, Michael.
I may have also said almost that exact phrase right after I said that. Well, I'm glad that we fought through our technical difficulties, and I'm going to hope that we have the remainder of our time together without any issues. But I would be remiss. I would be remiss, Ben, if I did not formally introduce you now to the Dice Tower Daily Chat viewers.
I expect a British accent, Mike, if it's formal.
Oh, really? You really? I don't know that anybody wants that. I've gone down that particular path before, and it wasn't very pretty. However, I am very, very, very happy to welcome Mr. Ben Maddox, the host of a fantastic podcast called 5 Games for Doomsday. And in just a moment, Ben, I'm going to want you to give the elevator pitch for that. But I always enjoy listening to your podcast. And while we aren't talking about this much during these daily chats because we're trying to keep things positive, recently you've done a really fantastic kind of series on how the quarantining has been affecting people in and around, not just in board gaming, but outside of that as well. And I've really appreciated those. But generally speaking, you host a board game podcast, Ben. Although
I do host a board game podcast.
I posit that it is a highly unique board game podcast. And so I would like for you, if you would, sir, please give us the quick elevator pitch on what 5 Games for Doomsday is all about.
Well, it's highly unique in that I stole the idea from a 50-year-old BBC Radio 4 show, but Americans don't know the show.
Correct.
So I shouldn't have said that out of the gate.
Right. That's right.
No, basically, so the premise is, and this is why my technology doesn't work, an apocalypse has happened, and a board game notable has had to flee to a cabin in the woods And they can only take 5 of their games with them.
Okay.
And so through those 5 games, I seek to scratch beneath the surface to the person beneath. And I guess my big thing is that so much of board game media, and this is completely understandable, is about the next product, what's coming out, what's new, what have you got coming up. And I wanted something to just veer away for a brief period from the marketing, so you can kind of get to know the people who are producing the things that you sit around the table and use every week, every month, every day.
Sure.
You know, that was the idea.
And I think what I appreciate about it so much is that it does very much, I feel, what your intent is, which is that you've got this structure, right? You've got this nice framework that you can count on of these 5 games that you would kind of keep with you in the cabin that you are speaking to these people with or speaking to these people at, and you've got that nice framework, but so much of the podcast is really about getting to know the person and how these games kind of say who they are as a person in a way.
Right.
These games have special personal significance to them, and through learning why, you learn a lot about those people. And so it goes in a direction, or goes in directions, I should say, that many podcasts in this hobby don't. And for that, I applaud you. I think I've given you my appreciation.
You're literally not applauding, but you know.
There you go.
Have you noticed? It's the thing Americans do.
Yes.
It's a really American thing. They'll go, "That's hilarious," and they won't laugh. Have you noticed they do that? They say something and they go, "Wow, that's hilarious." And not. Surely, if something's hilarious, it makes you laugh, right?
You know, that honestly might be the funniest thing I've ever heard, Ben. So let me take note. Yeah, we Americans are a quirky bunch, but if there's one thing that we're known for is we don't like extraneous U's. We cut all of any U that doesn't belong in a word. We get it right out, Ben.
It's not extraneous. It gives color and heft and depth to the language.
As long as
you can choose to be as efficient as you want, but without those carbuncles, the language loses all character.
Well, it adds a lot of COLOR. I would agree with you there. All right.
Well, indeed.
Gator Dave asks, what does Ben Maddox look like? Well, Gator, your answer is right there on the screen. Now you can see, and that question was there before your lovely visage was available to us. So let's take a look here now that our
it's 3 a.m. in the morning here, by the way.
Wow.
If you're thinking, wow, he looks rough. That's why.
So I did have my time zones mixed up because I thought that it was 1, which is still ridiculous. I thought it was 1 o'clock So where are you at right now, Mr. Maddox?
I'm in Berlin, Germany.
Okay. That's, man. Well, thank you even more for staying up at this ridiculous hour.
It gave me an opportunity to binge watch The Wire. So it's...
Okay.
And I won't be quoting that show on this.
No, please don't. Although The Wire, much of it, if not all, I don't know if all of it, but much of it is written by Richard Price, who is one of my favorite authors of all time. He writes incredible kind of, you call them crime novels, but they're so much more than that. One of his books called Clockers is one of my favorite books of all time. Fantastic.
Is that the film that Spike Lee made?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. It's based off of a Richard Price novel. It's just a fantastic book. So, Korra Liu asks, what games are you terrible at but enjoy playing anyway? Well,
I'm universally terrible at everything. All games.
Mm-hmm.
I've been recently, due to self-isolation, been playing a lot of Digital Through the Ages.
Okay.
And I love it. It's my favorite game of all time. And I just don't get any better. I just don't get any better. I was completely thrashed the other day. I think it was like 250 points to 140 points or something. I mean, really, I was really schooled. It was super embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I broke out Through the Ages about 2 months ago to a friend of mine, and they'd never played it before. Now, I've played Through the Ages maybe 10, 15 times.
Right.
And they never played it before. And they thrashed me. And that can't be right.
No.
I mean, that can't be right.
There's no justice in the world. And, Through the Ages, being a historically themed game, they say if you don't learn from your history, Ben, you're doomed to repeat it. And apparently you're just in this vicious cycle of incompetence in that game. I parrot your answer almost completely. Just in the game. I am horrible at many games. I will say, I don't usually end up in last place, but I'm almost never in first place, which is odd in a two-player game. But Scythe, which is my favorite game, is something that I think I've only won Scythe maybe 4 times ever. I'm horrible at it, but I like it. In life and in games, I always aim for second place. Ah. Yes.
If you aim for solid mediocrity, disappointment is rarer. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's rarer.
Right. When you set the bar on the ground, then you can consistently, make your way over that bar. Okay, my mic volume.
Limbo.
My mic volume's a little hot. I'm going to turn that down, and I'm going to move the mic away from me. So I hope now that my mic will not be quite as hot. Look, I've had so many mic issues, Ben. You had your computer crash on you.
Ironic, considering your first name.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I had my last microphone start giving this humming noise all of a sudden at the beginning of one of these live chat daily chats. I found out that microphone is dead, and now I have a whole new microphone, and apparently this one I'm still struggling with. Look. The mic volume is a lot hot. Although these are older comments, I'm gonna hope that calms down. I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom here. Mike and his mic issues. Yeah, if I'm still hot, let me know. I'm gonna keep turning the gain down a little bit, and I've got this microphone almost in another room, so hopefully that will take care of it. I'll also stop screaming.
Are you in Florida at the moment?
I am. I'm in Homestead, Florida. Very, very south part of the state. We're having a bit of a heat wave here, Ben. It's quite hot. It's in the.
Is it humid as well?
It is humid right now. Yeah, we're in a humid kind of state. Well, the state itself is humid. This is what the
people want, Mike. This is what the people want. Hot weather chat.
That's right. Let's get back to it. I'm so distracted by all of my technology issues. All right. Let's get to some more questions. And Ben, it says if you can, I don't know if you could put your mic up a little bit. We've got.
I can give it a go.
Yeah. See, Look, we'll do what we can. We cannot make any promises.
My mic is on my camera, so you don't want to get closer to the screen. No one wants that, Mike.
That's a good point.
You're not supposed to agree with me when I say things like that.
Okay, well,
you're supposed to say, "No, Ben, you're gorgeous."
No, well, Ben, you honestly are a pleasure to behold. Let's see.
Thank you very much.
I'm just kind of going through the questions here. Mostly people talking because we were, having some of our issues. But we have another person. Greetings from Germany as well. So yes, hello.
Oh, hello. Guten Abend.
Yes.
Guten Morgen.
I'm going to assume that was good morning. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sluggo has got his 5 games. Ben.
Come on, then, Sluggo.
You made me didn't ask, but here we are. We've got the Arkham Living card game.
Absolutely. I did a review of that. You should listen to it. It's Arkham LCG is brilliant. I just bought the big Dream Eaters expansion, so I can play it solo during the crisis.
And you do some fantastic reviews as well, yes. So Arkham Living card game, Eldritch Horror, so certainly a theme there. Gloomhaven, Food chain magnate. Go ahead.
Oh, Food Chain Magnate's amazing. I was just going to say, to my shame, I've never played Gloomhaven because it's one of those games you don't just play once, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
And I was sort of, I don't want to get into a campaign because inevitably I'll let people down. And I just wonder. So I hear a lot of conflicting reports, and I'm not sure, is it as good as people say, or is it overrated?
I have my own storied history with Gloomhaven, maybe only storied in my mind, but Gloomhaven is a game that I have purchased and traded twice. Wow. I have finally just come to the conclusion that this game is not for me. I understand the appeal. I understand the ingenuity of the design, and what I mostly understand is the incredible passion project this was for Isaac Childress. I mean, the fact that although I'm sure he's had help with aspects of the game, this is really one person's vision, and you know, what an incredible accomplishment. But the game is just not for me. It's not a game that fits my gaming lifestyle, which is basically I play, I play a lot of games and I tend to go to the next thing. And that's a game that I think does best when it's set up on your table and you play multiple sessions at a time. That's just not me. So, and then Sluggo said some kind of 4X. Can't decide if they're brave enough to say TI4, but fair enough.
Say Eclipse, it's better.
Right. Okay. Dean Muramoto asks, what are your two favorite game mechanics? Usually you get a question, what's your favorite game mechanic? Dean's not going to go there. He's saying, I want two.
So I have one.
Okay.
It is definitely the best mechanic in gaming. It's the best mechanic in gaming, and it is the gaming mechanic that drew me into the hobby.
Okay.
Now, I recently had Matt Leacock on my show.
Yes.
And he is the instigator of this mechanic, and it is this bit in Pandemic. When you have an epidemic, you take the city cards, you shuffle them, and you put them back on top of the deck.
Right.
Which ensures the tension is just instantly ramped up. It's so simple, and yet it's so brilliant.
Right.
It absolutely ensures that the game is constantly tense and there's no flabby moments, and it can explode into defeat, or you can scrape and claw your way to victory. It's brilliant. It's the best mechanic in gaming, in my view. And my second one, I think now, what's it called? Where you have, and Pandemic does this, action point allocation. You have a certain number of action points, a certain number of actions you can do, and you, excuse me, have to allocate your points to the actions. I love that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I love that sort of a la carte idea. You have a menu of actions at each turn. You can choose different things for where you are particularly. I love that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that too. Now that you mentioned it, I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, I immediately go to kind of the classics, the Kramer and Kiesling, the Tikal and Mexica and those games that utilize those action points. And it's a brilliant, like you said, it really gives you a feeling of agency, doesn't it? Where you've got this menu, and like you said, you want to do everything on that list, but you only have 10 action points, and so you've got to.
That is the great games. The great games are a constant balancing act of not being able to quite do what you want to do at any given time. And it's that wonderful option of, well, this is brilliant, and this is brilliant, and I can only do one of them, so I have to decide which one to go for. And great game design does that, and that action point allocation. And also, I think it facilitates forward planning, because you go, okay, I'll do X, Y, and Z this turn, then the next turn I'll set it up so I can do A, B, and C on this turn. Right. And I love that. I'm someone who likes to have a plan. This is why I'm not a big critic of multiplayer solitaire. Right. I love that I can execute my own plan, and the only villain is my own brain. I'm fighting against my own brain, which is it's a daily struggle.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's well said. I'm going to be much more boring than you on this answer, Ben, because I've got to admit it. I still really enjoy worker placement games. Now, I like where the direction that they've gone, especially here recently, where there's kind of variations on that as a theme. But I just, for some reason, that really speaks to me. And I also like simultaneous action selection in games that you wouldn't necessarily think that you'd see them in. There's a couple of reasons why. I like the idea of trying to determine what other people at the table are going to be doing and try to act accordingly. And I love the reveal. It just sounds so cheesy, but I love that reveal of, oh man, okay, well, I was hoping you weren't going to do that, but now I've got to deal with this. And so I love pivot points in games that make you feel like, okay, I had a plan, I had an idea, and now I've got to pivot. Now I've got to, because I'm much more of a tactical gamer than I am a strategic gamer. I like having a new kind of problem to solve every turn. And I think that those types of games give you a lot of pivot points, and so those are
my biggest issue with tactics is I'm congenitally impatient, and I have a couple of gamers in my group that are really AP ridden. And the problem with tactics, so this is why I couldn't get behind Five Tribes, for instance.
Oh.
Because the board state is completely different when it gets back to your turn.
Yes, it is.
So you can't plan. You can't plan on your off turn. So when I play games, I make sure I have a plan and a contingency plan as the turns are going around the table. So when it comes to my turn, I just go bunk, 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 bunk. Mostly, I go bunk, 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 bunk. There you go. And these games with high tactics, where you have to evaluate what you're going to do when it comes to you. If you've got a couple of people with AP in your group, it makes you want to. It makes you want to strangle. To be honest.
That is probably my biggest failing as a gamer, is that I have so little patience for excessive AP, and
I don't consider it a failing, Michael. I consider it it's a feature, not a bug. These people deserve to be told. Get on with it.
Take your turn.
You don't have to analyze everything down to the last.
Yeah, I'm so much more of a gut level gamer, and I appreciate that different people play games for different reasons, but I'm just not a min-maxer. I just want to enjoy myself at the table, and if I have to spend 3 minutes to eke out an extra point or two, that is not a cost benefit that I will take at any time.
I played Vast recently.
Yes.
And the Mysterious Manor, and a guy we timed it. We got our phones out and we timed it. A guy took, was it 19 minutes to do his turn?
Yeah.
19, not 9, 19, not 90. It's not a turn. 19 minutes to do his turn.
Yeah, that's no.
Absolutely incredible.
No, thank you.
He's dead now.
He's dead now, did you say?
What? I didn't say a thing.
No. Must have been a glitch in the audio.
Thank God this isn't being recorded, eh?
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, Ben. I have opinions. J. Ernest Jutti, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, what's your take on the new version of On the Underground, London and Berlin? Have you played it?
I haven't. It looks gorgeous. It was at the UK Games Expo. They had a big sort of demo set up one night, and I didn't play it because I don't play games at conventions. But I'm really, because I watched Tom's review of it years ago, and it was it's a game that looked sort of tragic and mass markety and uninteresting, but he was always a big supporter of that game. So I really want to give it a go. If Heracles is watching this, send me.
I have opinions. I played the game at Gearstones, actually, Ben, which is a little gaming weekend that our mutual friend Dan Hughes puts on in the Yorkshire Dales.
But I couldn't come to.
I was gutted. Yeah, you were supposed to be there and had some issues where you couldn't make it, which was awful. But I played the game there, and while I agree with you that it looks gorgeous, because I believe Ian O'Toole did the art for the redo,
Yep.
and I've had him as a guest on this show, and I definitely
before me.
Yes, indeed,
Okay.
sir, indeed.
Okay.
Look, all I'm saying is his computer worked fine. That's all I'm saying, Ben. So.
Well, it's all about evil Griffin money. That's why his computer's better gold. I'm sure.
Fair. I did not enjoy the game at all. I know Tom is a huge fan of it, and I've talked to Tom, and I think he's sick of talking to me about it because my issue with it was I felt like the turns you were taking as a player were oftentimes very obvious and very quick, snappy. It's like, okay, here, and then you had to compute for the next 45 seconds to a minute where the passenger was going to go, because it seemed like there were always 4 or 5 potential paths and you had to find the right one. And we had, I want to say, 5 people playing the game, and all 5 of us at the end of every person's turn were like, no, I think he maybe goes, I think it should go this. It was just, to me, it was just, but it could have been 5 people at the table who were not intelligent enough to figure out this. But I stipulate that, but I didn't enjoy it. So
fiddliness is the death of games.
Yes, and apparently I've mentioned this before, because Board Game Fangirl says Mike hates that game. Yes, he does. Sorry. What were you saying about fiddliness, Ben? I'm sorry.
I just think it's the death of games. If a game is hugely fiddly, it's just it sucks all of the fun out of it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We have some lovely chat going on, so I'm just kind of sifting through those to get to questions.
How many times are people saying how handsome I am?
That's what I'm sifting through. It's been quite a litany.
I am related to George Clooney, and yes, he's the not quite so good looking brother.
I didn't realize there were so many words in the English language for handsome. There's a lot of synonyms out there I was not aware of. Okay, Let's see here. Solo Play Gamer asks, what's your opinion on Zolkin? Love the gear system. Have you played Zolkin, Ben?
I have. It's one of those Euro games that you need to be in the mood for, because the economy is super tight.
Yes.
And so it is a really crunchy, mind-melting game, and one wrong decision can really put you in the weeds. But it's always partnered with Teotihuacan.
Yes.
And Zolkin is far superior to Teotihuacan, in my view. And that's sort of, I'm not the first person to say this, and I stole this off someone, and I can't remember who I stole it from, but using time as a resource is genius.
Yeah.
It's absolute genius.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mention using time as a resource. I tend to think of it as there are certain games, Thebes is the first one that pops into mind, where certain actions take a certain amount of time, and you have a time tracker around the board. And so oftentimes what will happen is there's a particular move or action you want to take that costs a lot of time, and so it puts you that far ahead, and other people now can take smaller actions and take consecutive turns. And that, it depends on how it's abstracted.
That's sort of patchwork.
Patchwork does something very similar, and it's interesting how time can be abstracted in different ways. That's a very kind of literal abstraction of time, where you actually have it on a track. Then you have other games like Francis Drake or even Tokaido, to go much lighter, where this idea of where you can go forward one direction on some type of a track, and you can go to any space you want. Glenn Moore, I think, does this too, maybe. But other people now, whoever's in last place is going to go next. And so you've got this agonizing situation of, I really want to take that action. I don't want someone to take it from me, but I also don't want to give every other person at the table 2 more turns before I go again. And to me, that's another example of time as a resource. It's just abstracted differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's that thing of, and if I jump forward to this really beneficial action, is that going to limit me? Maracaibo does this.
I haven't played that yet.
You go round the islands and then the round ends, and you can jump forward to something. And sometimes you have that horrible thing where you go, I don't want to do this. I don't want to jump to this space, but it's really the only thing I can do. And that sort of, I love that kind of fatalism sometimes in games.
Yeah.
That you just have to sacrifice total and complete joy to just get the job done. And, and that sort of, that going around a rondelli type thing does that a lot. It's really good.
Yeah, it does. I didn't answer the Zolkin question, I realized. I have a similar thought to you, Ben, in that it's a game that I have to be in the right mood for because it really makes my brain hurt. More so even than Teotihuacan. The gear system is brilliant, especially since I've heard the argument, oh, well, those could just be tracks. Well, absolutely, they could be tracks. But why not put them on the gears? It's a brilliant little innovation.
We play board games for a reason. We don't just play board. Otherwise, if it wasn't about the tactility and the actual physical object, we just play video games.
Right. Exactly.
We just all sit around with a tablet and pass a tablet around.
Right.
But there is a joy in doing that thing where you go and all the gears turn around.
Absolutely true.
It really adds to the game.
It really does. There's nothing wrong with table presence, people. Okay.
Absolutely.
Tolkien is beautiful, or Tolkien? Where did that come from? Zolkin is beautiful, weird.
He was a striking man, certainly, especially with that pipe.
Yes, indeed. Korra Liu says, I was interested in Thebes, but Dice Tower reviews said it was too much luck in bag draws. Mike, do you think it's still worth getting? Korra Liu, it is too much luck in bag draws. If you don't want a heavy dose of luck, then steer clear. However, if you want a very light game that has, I think the luck in Thebes bothers me less because it is somewhat thematic, right? It's the idea of literally you're digging in the dirt.
It's the one where you go digging in the bag. Right?
Exactly right. You're digging in the bag, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to be pulling out a dirt chip. But you know what? When you dig in the dirt looking for something, a lot of times you're not going to find anything. And so it doesn't bother me in Thebes for a couple of reasons. 1, because it's so light. 2, because I think it's somewhat thematic to what you're doing. And 3, because it's not a long game. So it doesn't bother me. Right. But just be aware of what you're getting. If you're expecting a very highly strategic game where you have a complete agency over whether you win or lose, then that's not the game for you, I would say.
But if the game doesn't stick around too long, luck is fine. It's only in these games. My issue with Twilight Imperium 3 was essentially, you rolled a d6 to see who went first at the beginning of the game, and that decided who won the game. And then you just had to play for 7 hours to decide, the person who rolled highest in the beginning of the game won the game. Yeah,
and in a game that long,
TI4 kind of fixes that a little bit, though doesn't fix the fact that it's boring.
I wonder if Roy is listening right now. He's freaking out if he is. Well, this is interesting. An interesting statement. Melissa Stevens says, "I never hear about castles. I never hear about Castles of Burgundy. How do you feel about that game?" And Ben, first of all, I realize that you're being a better host than I am. You're greeting our guests where I'm not. I'm saying their names, but yes, you're right. Hello, Melissa. Thank you for the question.
The thing is, you've been doing this for so long now that you're blasé about it. I feel like people are addressing me. I feel special. I feel like a princess. So that's why I'm being gracious.
You are special, Ben. Now, Melissa, the reason why I think the question is interesting is that I feel like I hear about Castles of Burgundy all the time, especially for a game that has been, it's not old, but in board gaming world, it's old, where, a game that's 2 years old is ancient. It's old enough to have a quote-unquote deluxe edition, which is really not very deluxe. But I have an interesting relationship with Stefan Feld. But Ben, do you have thoughts about Castles of Burgundy?
I've just discovered it. So I played it once 5 years ago.
Okay.
I played it once 5 years ago, and I knew it was this big thing, and I played it once, and I never came back to it. And then I played it again for the first time, sort of like 2.5 weeks ago, and I just suddenly thought, this is what people are talking about.
Right.
I love that the game design that always fascinates me. This is why I'll never be a game designer, because my brain just doesn't work in that way.
Right.
The games that really fascinate me, and Blue Lagoon is a great example of this. Knizia is a great exponent of this. But you do very little. What you do on your turn is super simple.
Right.
You place a token, you take a token, and yet the decision tree branches out from that seemingly inconsequential thing into something that is deep and labyrinthine and exciting. And I played Castles of Burgundy and just went, I understand now why this is amazing. And I won't buy the deluxe edition because it looks like someone's vomited on the board.
Yeah.
I bought the deluxe edition of Las Vegas recently, which came out at the same time from the same publisher.
Right.
Deluxe, it isn't.
I've heard much the same. I feel like this is a bit of a mea culpa here. I feel like I have dwelled too much on the aesthetics or lack thereof with Castles of Burgundy. But in my defense, the reason why I have been so hard on the aesthetics for that game is that I feel like it is a modern classic. And I feel like it's a game that if it had any kind of table presence at all, would be up there in the pantheon of other modern classics. I'm not a fan of Carcassonne. I don't think Carcassonne looks very good. I think it looks better than Castles of Burgundy. Something about Castles of Burgundy strikes me as so terribly dry and off-putting. We were talking about Tzolk'in, and I'm not saying this is everything, and here I am saying that I've talked too much about the aesthetics and I'm railing about it for 5 minutes, but you talk about Tzolk'in, you walk past the table, you're going to stop and look at that game. Castles of Burgundy, you're not. If anything, you're going to go, oof. You're going to look in the other direction.
This is true, right? But you can watch a Christopher Nolan film.
Sure.
Which is all sweepy camera angles and absolutely no substance. Or you can watch a Todd Solondz film where he puts the camera on a tripod, locks it off, and then just allows the actors to do their stuff. And there's not a lot of bravura and showmanship. Yet when you get into it, it's so deep and exciting. And Castles of Burgundy, you see, I don't think it looks that bad. I think it looks fine and it functions. And now we'd all love for Ian O'Toole to do a deluxe version where it's beautiful. Of course we would. But the game is so good and it's so rewarding that the aesthetics just melt away and it just becomes this glorious set of decisions that you come out of feeling warm and like you've spent an hour doing something worthy. And I'd like it to be prettier, but I'm happy with it as it is. It doesn't bother me.
I concede the point to you, Ben, and Melissa. It's a fantastic game. I highly, highly, highly recommend playing it. And I've got to get over it. This is my issue. Clearly,
I've got to get over it.
I've got to get over it.
Being so shallow, Mike.
I am very self-admittedly a shallow gamer. Aesthetics mean so much to me, so much so that I have probably forgiven things in games that I should not have because I have so enjoyed the aesthetic experience of interacting with them. So this is a little bit of a repeat. So, maybe only go into the parts that you haven't covered before, Ben, but this is from Nate Vestal.
Nate.
Greetings, Ben. When did you get into board gaming and what is your involvement in the industry today?
So I got into gaming in 2012, and I moved to Berlin. I moved to a new city, and I wanted something to do that wasn't going to the pub every night. Especially, when I moved to Berlin, I was in my 30s. I thought I'm not getting any younger. And so, my salad days of my youth, I didn't want to continue doing that. And I looked for something that would get me in a room with loads of people I hadn't met before and get talking to people. And of course, board games are that thing. But I never really thought it was going to be the obsession that it became. But I bought Pandemic and I played Pandemic and I just thought, wow, these things are this. This is completely unexpected. And then I bought City of Horror, which to this day is still in my top 10 games. It's absolutely fantastic. And I bought that. I thought, this is brilliant. And then I bought The Resistance. And I thought, oh my, this is astonishing. I never assumed that this would be this. And I had parties around my flat with 10 people. And we just played The Resistance for 4 hours. Again, over and over again. And it was hilarious. And we drank, and it didn't stop me drinking. And we drank, and we laughed. And it was just amazing. And after about 6 months, my collection, I did that thing where my collection went from Pandemic to 100 games, right? And, I watched an awful lot of the Dice Tower, just soaking in all of the information, really wanting to know everything. In terms of what I do in the industry, a few things, actually. I'm a voiceover actor. I'm an actor. And so I've done some voiceovers for Kickstarter projects, and if anyone's out there listening and needs a sultry English voice, don't hesitate to call. But my main thing is the podcast, and with the podcast, what I really want to do is open up the people in games, because lots of people talk about the games, and lots of people do a great job talking about the games. And I do reviews, although I think my reviews are more about my neuroses than they are.
They're quite cerebral, your reviews, yes.
Well, and yeah, that's what I do, and I have a Patreon, and it pays for me to do things. It pays for me to go to conventions and all of this sort of stuff. And so I guess I do make money from the industry, and I'm speaking to your arch nemesis, Danny Hughes, about this recently, and I've never been particularly one for community, right? I never joined clubs, and I never, was into this sort of thing. I always found it sort of faintly odd. Yet, in gaming, I found a community, and especially as social media has increased, and now I have friends, people I would legitimately call friends, you included, that I've never met. Right. That I've never sat in a room with. Right. And and the community around games can sometimes be nasty and can sometimes be very divided. And what's really interesting about games is the people who play them are across the spectrum. And what's really interesting is I've managed to have polite conversations over the internet with people who I fundamentally disagree with, on points that I fundamentally disagree with. And we've managed to have a valuable discourse. And we would never have had that if it hadn't have been for the fact that we both are into board games. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Well said, sir. Well said. I don't even think I have anything to add.
But if you do support Manchester United, you're dead.
Let's see here. There was a question. Yes. Solo Play Gamer asks, what is your favorite underrated game to play? Mine's Castell, he said. I have not played Castell. I know that, Matthew Jude goes on and on and on about Castell, and I've heard really good things about it.
Aaron, the designer, is in my game group.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. He's American, but he lives in Berlin. And I've still not played Castell, and I should. Wow. Everyone says it's great. Everyone says it's great.
Here you were setting me up for this deep dive into the designer diaries and all of the intricate workings of Castell. And all right, well, we neither of us know anything about Castell other than we've heard good things. I apologize if you've heard me answer this question before, because it has come up, but I usually go to two games that I champion as underrated games. And they're both older. And what's that?
One of them might be my answer. So
I'll be shocked. But it'd be great if it was. One of them is a game called Radice, which is about the...
Oh, Radice is fantastic.
I love Radice. It's about the Black Plague, a small little area control game from, I think White Goblin does it. A number of different companies have kind of had their hand in it. But I love Radice, and especially if you bring in the Pied Piper expansion...
I don't think I've played with the Pied Piper.
Yeah, that's the best way to play it, I think. It adds some really neat stuff. So Radice is kind of my go-to. And then there's a pick-up and deliver game, which for a lot of people, saying that is enough and they're already out. A lot of people hate pick-up and deliver. I absolutely adore it. It's a game, an older Rio Grande game called Cinque Terre. The Five Villages.
I've heard of it. I've not played.
It's a very, very streamlined, basic pick-up and deliver game, but there's something about it that is so charming to me. And I hesitate to bring that one up because I think that one's hard to get a hold of. Radice you should still be able to get pretty freely and not terribly expensive. Cinque Terre might be a little hard to get, and if so, I apologize. Ben, what are your what's your underrated game or games?
I have one stock answer for this.
Okay.
And it blows my mind that this game is underrated, that no one talks about it, because it's absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. Every play of it is hilarious and vicious and nasty and brilliant. And I think this might be one of the few games that suffered from overproduction. And this is Dogs of War.
Oh yeah, that's in my list, man. That's up there. That's such a great game.
It's so good. Paolo Mori is such a great director.
He really
great designer. Dogs of War is such a simple, fun, hilarious game, and
it's great.
It came out, and it had the crazy components and the sort of weird graphic design choices. And then it just sort of disappeared. And I think you can pick up this game for next to nothing. Mm-hmm. And don't let its low price tag fool you. This game is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It is. It's terrific. And you want to talk about underrated designers? I think Paolo Mori would be up in that list. He is such a versatile, first of all, versatile and underrated, under-recognized designer.
One of his games is in my top 5. So.
Which one is that?
Libertalia.
Oh, yeah.
Just glorious. Libertalia is brilliant. Ethnos is brilliant.
Yep.
Blitzkrieg, which is a reworking of Dogs of War, just for 2 players, is brilliant. Yep. I just play all the Paolo Mori games.
Yep, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. Let's see here. Apparently. Now, I don't know that I can take the credit or the blame, however you want to put it, but Board Game Fangirl says, Mike, because of your Dice Tower top games, Radice is now sold out everywhere, or at least miniature market. I think you can...
that Delicio bump.
The Delicio bump. We won't go... I'm going to leave that right where it stands. I love Pick Up and Deliver, and I wish Cinque Terre was still in print. Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know that that's... I think that I'm one of the only people that particularly enjoy that game, at least as much as I do. So I don't know that one's coming back into print. I wish. It would be lovely. A lot of people backing you up on Libertalia, Ben. They're saying that they really enjoy it.
So great.
Josh Estes asks, is Ben's team Chelsea? I'm going to guess that's a no, Josh.
It's going to seem like the computer has crashed again, but it isn't. I've just thrown my computer against the wall for being so insulting. No, I am a Liverpool fan. The greatest football team that has ever existed. I have no
dogs in this fight.
Become a Liverpool fan.
Sure, why not? The only football or American for us Yanks here, soccer. The only soccer that I really follow is I'll follow some of the Italian Serie A, the Juventus, and long before they got. That was my dad and his brother's team way back when they were like even when they had been kicked out of the main league, and they were not good at all.
So are your parents American or are they Italian, or is it your grandparents who are Italian?
This is my father's side of the family. My father was born in Italy and moved. He and my grandmother were the first ones to move to the country. They both moved here together. He was 18, and then his brothers came later. And so he's from Italy. Came here when he was 18. My mother is American, but her grandmother was born in Norway. So not too far removed from Europe, I suppose.
So it's average. You're a man of average height, then.
I'm a man.
Half Viking, half Italian. So you're a man.
Correct.
Of average height.
Depending on what your definition of average is, sure. I would say that I'm probably technically below average height, but, well, what are you going to do? And I've never seen you in person, Ben. I'm assuming that you're taller, quite a bit taller than I am.
I'm 6'8". I'm ripped. If I were to take my top off,
please don't.
I would resemble a Greek god.
Please don't.
Yeah, I'm a fine specimen of human being.
Okay, it's going to put me on the spot here a little bit. Korra Liu asks, do you know of any current pick up and deliver games? I've never played one. The ones that come to mind would be like the Firefly game is a pick up and deliver game. Wasteland Express. Yeah, I know. It's too long. Wasteland Express Delivery Service is a pick up and deliver game.
If you don't mind a bit of meanness, and it's an old game that has just been reprinted in a gorgeous new edition. If you don't mind a bit of meanness, it's a game that lasts 40 minutes. It is absolutely astonishing design. It's brilliant, and that is Bus. Bus. Bus is so good.
That's a Splatter, yeah?
Yeah, but it's published by...
Capstone, maybe?
Capstone.
Yeah.
Capstone do the new version, and it's brilliant. It's a Splotter really usually do these esoteric, very heavy, very long games, but Bus is 40, 45 minutes. Once you've got the rules down, 40, 45 minutes. It's mean as all heck.
Yeah.
But it's really good. It's the best pick up and deliver game I've played, I think.
Wow. Okay. We also have Timbo Slice reminded me. I hadn't thought about this, but Istanbul would be a pick up and deliver game.
Istanbul's great. Yeah.
Oh, and actually, I have a great recommendation. I think, if I do say so myself, and I just did, a designer that I have some real hot and cold, shall we say, usually more cold than hot, is Freedom and Friesa, and his latest game, Fast Laws, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great.
I'm telling you. Even if the aesthetics of it, because I know some people have not loved the cover, don't let that game. To me, that should be in the running for the Spiel. I think it's fantastic.
Isn't there an embargo on advertising Stephen Bonacore games on this channel? I mean, if there isn't, there certainly should be.
Stephen Bonacore is definitely a friend of the Dice Tower. I don't think there's any embargoes going on there. But yeah, I'm glad I thought of that. I'm glad you've played it too, Ben. That one was
great.
It was introduced to me at Dice Tower West by the Board Game Barrage folks, and what a clever game. You could teach that game in 10 minutes, and it has this great interaction with other people around the table. Thematically, it's smart too, because the different animals work in a way that makes sense for how they should, and it helps you remember how the different animals move. Basically, the idea is that every player is a sloth, and you're trying to get leaves of your own color that are scattered about the board. It's a hex board, right? Hex?
Yeah.
And you don't move on your own volition. Other animals move you according to their different ways of movement. And so the elephant, if he's in the game, is slow, and so he can only move, I think, up to 3 spots but he can throw, or actually it's not up to 3. He doesn't move as fast as other animals, but he can throw you another couple of spots with his trunk.
And the ants do that thing that they do with the leaves.
Right.
Ants pass you from one ant to the other. And
right.
It's the thing with Freedom and Freezer, right, is that he's so out of the box. Mm-hmm. He's so original.
Yes.
And the thing with originality is often very hit and miss, right?
Yes.
But Fastloss is great.
It is.
Really good.
It really, really is. Now, I know it is remarkably, we're past late, Ben. We're into early for you. It was early when we started, but let's maybe do one more question because we got started a little late, if that's okay.
No worries.
All right, let's see if I can find one good question. These have all been good questions, don't get me wrong, but I want to find... okay, this is a good one here. We'll end with this. And this is, I would say, a question that is similar to what you get into with your 5 Games for Doomsday podcast. This is from Keith DeZois. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, Keith. What game will you never remove from your collection under any circumstance?
It is a game I don't really play anymore. But I think I'm going to use a really pretentious word now.
Please do it. Break it out. Break it out, Mr. Thesaurus. Let's do it.
As a Gesamtkunstwerk.
In English, please?
Which means total package. Right?
Yes.
It is the game that I think in board gaming gets closest to art, but it's not just an art project, it's actually a brilliantly designed game too, and it evokes... I'm very much about art telling us about who we are as people and invoking reactions in us. And this game is every aspect, from the art to the game design to the ethos, what the game is trying to do, trying to talk about fellowship and fraternity, and all of this. And it does it perfectly and economically and beautifully and touchingly, if that's a word. Sure. And that's the Grizzled. The Grizzled is astonishing. It's an astonishingly beautiful game. And if you listen to anything from me, and I'm not saying this just to get a plug in, but hey, when in Rome, if you listen to anything of mine, listen to a review I did of the Grizzled, where I talk about why I think the game is valuable. And that will give you more sort of idea of what I think about it. I think the game that stays with me forever because I think the game is just a wonderful conception.
Yeah, it is. And as a matter of fact, when Ian O'Toole was on the show, he talked about the art in the Grizzled as being terribly important to him, and I think it may have been his answer to the favorite art in a game he didn't design. I think that's what he chose, and so we talked a little bit about both of our thoughts on the Grizzled. So I won't repeat it here, but especially since I don't think I can do it as eloquently as you did. But it is a special game. So much,
why don't you just get married to him? All you've done is talk about Ian O'Toole. You get me on the show, and then all you do is talk about Ian O'Toole the whole time.
I mean.
Chopped liver?
This is fair because to be honest, you could have, with the luminaries that you have interviewed, you haven't brought up Reiner Knizia or Martin Wallace or Jamie Stegmaier or Elizabeth Hargrave and all these other wonderful people that you have interviewed.
I don't name drop, Mike. I don't name drop.
Sorry, I'll do it on your behalf.
I'm entertaining enough without having to bask in reflected glory.
Sure. We can go with entertaining. We'll go with that word. I have some others in mind, but I'll just keep those myself. For my answer, I'm going to go with Blue Moon City, a Reiner Knizia game that has not only do I think it is a spectacularly fantastic game, but it has special significance to me. It's a game that my wife and I have always enjoyed playing together, and so there's just no way. As a matter of fact, I have 2 copies of that game. I have the original Fantasy Flight edition with the original art, and I got the upgraded one as well so that I can play that one and not degrade, because the original one I have is it shows a lot of love. We'll call it love. It shows a lot of love. So that way I have a second copy that I can kind of keep the miles off of that. You know what I mean? When you have the new car, you want to keep the miles off the new car, that type of thing. So
for sure.
Well, everybody, thank you for your patience through our technical difficulties. But Ben, I feel pretty fantastic that after that initial hiccup, we made it through. We got all the way through, and
we did. I mean, I managed to sit in your company for an hour, which is a hell of a achievement.
Look, you really should get some hazardous duty pay for that. I agree. Not many people can do it, but it has been a pleasure, Ben. Thank you for coming on, especially at this remarkably ridiculous hour. I hope that anybody who is interested in some unique and, if I might say so, almost academic in its approach, but still fun and entertaining, check out 5 Games for Doomsday. I think it really is something that is not like everything else out there. And to me, that's the highest praise I can give, is that I feel like it really has a unique voice. Those are the podcasts I tend to gravitate towards. So check it out if you have not done so yet, I would say.
And if you want to know which very famous game designer was Edward Snowden's boss briefly, you should listen to my show.
Ah, there you go. That's a little teaser. Put those breadcrumbs out there, Ben, and let everyone just nibble their way to the correct answer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for staying with us for another daily chat. Thank you for the wonderful questions. Everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and be kind. Everyone could use a little bit of that right now, yes? Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.